This is actually a question from Reddit. What the long-term effects of human communication when people can talk with, in quotes, talk with others through a chatbot that augments their language automatically, rather than developing social skills by making mistakes and learning. Uh, will people just communicate by grunts in a generation? Do you think about long-term effects at scale, the integration of AI in our social interaction?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's mostly good. I mean, that question was sort of framed in a negative way, but I mean, we were talking before about language models helping you communicate with, it was like language translation helping you communicate with people who don't speak your language. I mean, at some level, what all this social technology is doing is helping people um, express themselves better to people in situations where they would otherwise have a hard time doing that. So part of it might be okay because you speak a language that I don't know. That's a pretty basic one that, I don't think people are going to look at that and say, it's sad that we have the capacity to do that because I should have just learned your language, right? I mean, that's a pretty high bar. But overall, I'd say there are all these impediments, and language is an imperfect way for people to express thoughts and ideas. It's, one of the best that we have. We have that, and we have art, we have code.
But language is also a mapping of the way you think, the way you see the world, who you are. And one of the applications, I've recently talked to a person who's actually a jiu-jitsu instructor. He said that when he emails parents about their son and daughter, that they can improve their discipline in class and so on, he often finds that comes off a bit of more of an asshole than he would like. So he uses GPT to translate his original email into a nicer email, the more polite one.
We hear this all the time. A lot of creators on our services tell us that one of the most stressful things is basically negotiating deals with brands and stuff, like the business side of it, because they're like, I mean, they do their thing, right? And the creators, they're excellent at what they do, and they just want to connect with their community. But then they get really stressed. They go into their DMs and they see some brand wants to do something with them, and they don't quite know how to negotiate or how to push back respectfully. And so I think building a tool that can actually allow them to do that well is one simple thing that I think is just like an interesting thing that we've heard from a bunch of people that they'd be interested in. But I'm going back to the broader idea. I don't know. I mean, Priscilla and I just had our third daughter.
Congratulations,
by the way. Thanks. It's and it's like one of the saddest things in the world is like seeing your baby cry, right? But like it's like why is that, right? It's like, well, because babies don't generally have much capacity to tell you what they care about otherwise, right? And it's not actually just babies, right? It's my 5-year-old daughter cries too because she sometimes has a hard time expressing, what matters to her. And then I was thinking about that, and it's like, well, actually, a lot of adults get very frustrated too because they have a hard time expressing things in a way that, going back to some of the early themes, that maybe is something that, was a mistake, or maybe they have pride or something. Like all these things get in the way. So I don't know. I think that all these different technologies that can help us navigate the social complexity and actually be able to better express what we're feeling and thinking, I think that's generally all good. And there are all these concerns. Like, okay, are people going to have worse memories because you have Google to look things up? And I think in general, a generation later, you don't look back and lament that. I think it's just like, wow, we have so much more capacity to do so much more now. And I think that that'll be the case here too.
You can allocate those cognitive capabilities to like deeper, more nuanced thought.
Yeah.